Hey everyone, welcome to the topic about database table creations. So hopefully this is quick. Um, I'm just going to talk about how you create tables in the database. Um, it's pretty simple, but just follow along. There's a few things that you have to know before you create a table. Um, in a relational database, you have these things called primary keys and foreign keys. What a primary key is it's a unique identifier um, for a specific for the rows. A unique identifier is something like an incrementing number from like one, and then if you insert another row to that table, the unique identifier, the ID, um, the next row will be two, the next row will be three, and so on and so on and so on. And no rows for a primary key will never have the no two rows will ever have the same ID. They're all unique. The other thing to note about primary keys is that they can't have any null values. And what they're essentially used for is to connect tables together. And so you connect tables together using primary keys connected to foreign keys. And actually, let's rewind a bit. And so, in case you don't know, or if you may not know, a table is used to create to store information. So in a table, you can have multiple columns. So as you can see here, in this example right here, this table is called the address table. Should really be called, I think, addresses. But anyway, this address table contains an ID column, which auto increments and is the primary key as depicted here. And this address table contains a street, which is a text-based, contains like text-based values, and it's not allowed to be null. Then you have city and zip. And these are also text based, and so this whole thing right here, when you insert into this table, when you insert a new row, that row contains these four columns. So think of it like as an HTML table, right? The tables have rows and columns. So this is all one row, and then each column is this individual thing, and they store the data. So back to the foreign keys. So the foreign keys, what they're used for is to create the link between tables. So you can think of the table with the foreign key as being like a child table, and then the table with the primary key as being the parent table. Now, all your tables will probably have primary keys, but if you have a table that has a foreign key within it, you can consider that table as being the parent table, and then the table that is associated with the foreign key is the child table. So with a foreign key, you can actually ensure that related data from the children is addressed before manipulating data on the parent table. So let's say that you can't add a row to the parent table without first making sure that there is a row in the child table that can be referenced on the parent table. And you can't delete a row from the parent table without first deleting the row from the child table. So think about it like a users table. Users will have, or like a people's table. The people table will have a person in there. For every row, it will be considered a person, and they'll have like first name, last name, email address, blah 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 blah, and then they'll have an address ID as a foreign key. Now, what this is going to do is it points over to the to the address table to this address table. So it's saying that this user, this address belongs to this user. So let's go through an example real quick for that. I have that actually right here. So this is like this is a a diagram of my tables, and right here you can see that I have a users table and I have an addresses table. So here you can see that the users table has a first, last, email, phone, password, and address ID. And you can tell that this address ID is a foreign key because it's referencing, the addresses table, but also because of this foreign key indicator right here. And what this is saying is that there is a one-to-one relationship between this users table and this addresses table. So you can't have a user without first creating an address. So you got to create the address first for the user, and then you got to create the user and assign it that address. So that's kind of where the foreign key relationship comes into play. Make sure that data is always valid. So let's see how to create a table real quick using PHP MyAdmin. Let me bring this over. So here you can see that I have all the tables that I have drawn out over here, and you can see that I have an addresses table. Now, if you want to see how this was created, let's go to structure. SQL. Well, let me show you guys how to create a new table then off of here. So let's say I wanted to create a table called payments. So this table will store payments. Let's give it an ID. Each table should have an ID. We're going to have it be auto-incrementing because this is going to be the primary key. ID is going to be the primary key. We'll say go. So what that just did is that made it the primary key as indicated right here. Payment, we're going to say is associated to an order ID. Let's give this a decimal. And the payment amount, like how much did they pay for this order? Let's do amount. Decimal, and actually this should be int. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying that ID, I'm creating a new table called payments, saying ID is going to be the first column, order ID is going to be the second column, amount is going to be the third column. ID column is going to be primary and it's going to auto increment. So it's going to be like 1, 2, 3. For every row that you insert, it's going to automatically increment. I could select here that the amount can be null, but that doesn't make sense. So what null will do is it means that it's unset. The value, there's no value in it. So it's not like it's blank. It's just unset. But that doesn't make sense for here because we want them to, like, the purpose of this table is to pay. So they have to submit a value. And then I think that's it. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to create this table, save, and now it's going to generate it should have generated the create query, but that's fine. I'll show you guys that. So anyway, so now we created the payments table, and now we want to go to the structure again and go to the relation view. Now we want to make sure that this table is related to the orders table. So let's do foreign key. So this table is going to be the child. No, it's going to be the parent of the orders table. So payments, order ID. column order ID. So this is saying that in the payments table, the column order ID is going to be the foreign key. We're selecting our database. We're selecting the table that we want it to relate to. So it's going to be the orders table and by ID. And we're just going to go ahead and save. So what this just did is it created a foreign key relationship to the orders table. So now if you delete an order, what's going to happen is it's going to force you to delete the payments for that order as well. Otherwise, you don't want to delete an order and then just have random data in the payments table about this deleted order, because that just doesn't make sense. Why would you not delete the payments for that as well if you're deleting it, if you're deleting the order? So anyway, so we just did that. Let me show you guys the create statement. I'm going to go ahead and refresh all. So now I'm using Workbench. Personally, I like Workbench for doing for creating tables and stuff like that. So here's our payments table. Let's and then create statement. So this is what it generated for us. So everything that we just did there through the UI in PHPMyAdmin, this is a SQL code for it. So yeah, this is it. So here you can see that the ID is not null and it's auto increment. Order ID is not null. Amount column is not null. The primary key is set to the ID column, which is this. And then here's the foreign key information. So yeah. So that's how you create tables and some information about them, the columns, the rows, primary and foreign keys. So so yeah, if you guys like this video, hit like and hit subscribe to get notifications whenever a new one comes out. Thanks. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.